All right, welcome to another 902 gaming video, and today I'm going to be going over more of the spoilers from Kamigawa. So far, 147 of the cards have been spoiled out of 302. I think some are extra. I'm not exactly sure what commander cards probably or something like that. I think there's only like 257 or something like that in the set, so we got about 100 cards left to go. It's quite a few cards spoiled since yesterday. Since I posted my video yesterday, there was a few new cards spoiled right after I had done that video. But I'm going to go over the ones from today and yesterday as well. Try to skip over the, like this guy here, the 1-mana 1/1 Death Touch. It's fine. But first up we have Invoke Whirlwind. So it's 5 mana, gain control of target artifact or creature. Artifact might be important. And untap it. So we have a lot of mono blue that can gain control of creatures. There's that one. So we have Tempted by the Auric, and then we have this one, and then we also have Mind Flayer, which gains control of a creature. All great. I think that these are great cards. Mind Flayer has been playing really, really well for me lately. I've been playing it at a reanimation strategy, and it's been playing really, really well for me. Except when it doesn't, and I skip through my attack phases. So next up we have Inventive Iteration. So it's a 4-mana saga. You get to return a creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. And then you get to return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand, or if you can't, you draw a card. And then when it reaches chapter 3, it transforms. Whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value as that spell until your next turn. But it does prohibit you somewhat. I don't think it's that powerful. But anyways, we'll go on to the next one. So we have Essence Capture. This one is counter target creature spell for 2 mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. This is, I think there was something like this printed before. This seems like a reprint for some reason. Is there? Okay, there's Trap Essence, which counters a creature spell and put 2 +1/+1 counters. Okay, maybe that's the one that I'm thinking of. This person says there was a reprint, so that's pretty cool. It does help with the modified creatures and stuff too. It's a very powerful counter spell. It will help the ninjutsu black, the black blue rogue ninjutsu deck for sure. Then we have a removal spell. Now I've said in previous videos that conditional removal spells are not the best. Generally speaking, they're not the best. Conditional spells generally aren't that good. There's a few exceptions. Like when I started playing back in October, I thought Deadly Dispute, which is sacrifice a creature, you get to draw 2 cards and create a treasure token for 2 mana. I thought Deadly Dispute was terrible. I was like, why are people playing this card? It requires you to have a creature in play. And, being as long as I've been playing Magic, having to rely on a creature being in play doesn't really, never really worked out before. But turns out Deadly Dispute's a very powerful card. Gives you lots of velocity to get into your next few turns. It also ramps you. So it's a very, very good card. So it's conditional. This is another conditional spell, conditional removal spell. I don't know if this one's on the same level as Deadly Dispute. There's a possibility, and it's simply just for the fact that it says draw a card. I think this will be a sideboard card for sure in certain matchups, especially like the black blue ninjutsu deck, ninja deck, whatever you want to call it. It'll definitely be a sideboard card there. I don't think it'll be played in like a control deck. It seems good anyway. 1 mana removal spells tend to be good. Conditional, I'm not 100% sure. So these are spoiled yesterday. We have the Mech Titan, which I'll see the vehicle in a few minutes. Uganjo Uprising was spoiled already. Then we have Story Weave, which is 3 mana instant. Choose 1. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Okay. Put 2 lore counters on target saga you control. The next time 1 or more enchantment creatures enter the battlefield under your control this turn, each enters with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it. Oh, so this basically allows you to ultimate a saga. I'm not sure if it triggers. I think it triggers. I'm not sure if the lore counter, if it'll trigger if it gets a lore counter, or if it just only happens at a certain time. like it'll trigger when the lore counter goes on. That there's some wording there. There's some rules there. I'm not 100% sure. I think it might. If it does, these trigger whenever a lore counter goes on them, then it'll flip right away. So you can flip a like one of these ones, like the Fall of Lord Konda. You can flip it right away, basically. So if we look at the Fall of Lord Konda, when you first play it, exile target creature and opponent controls with mana value 4 or greater. Okay, that's pretty good. Each player gains control. This is the permanent that I was talking about earlier, with blue getting all the control magic stuff. Now white gets another answer to that strategy. I don't know if it's, again, answers aren't as good as threats, so it's hard to say. This, potentially just be a sideboard card. So each player gains control of all permanents they own. So I've recently been playing this Reanimator style deck with Mind Flayers, Tempted by the Auric, a bunch of stuff like that, where I'm basically just stealing opponents' creatures over and over and over and over again. This kind of puts not a nail in that coffin, so to speak, but it gives them a good answer to it, which I'm not sure, other than that specific deck, why this was needed. But I understand you got to have answers to certain problems, and I think it's fine. Anyways, then when it flips, it's chapter 3. It flips. Then it's a 1/3 defender. When it dies, you get to draw a card. So going back to the story weave, when this comes into play, it gets the counter, and you get to destroy a creature. Now, if you play this right after that, you put another 2 lore counters on it. I think it will cause the second ability to trigger, and then the third ability to trigger. Then it'll flip, and then you'll get this creature with 2+1/+1 counters on it. So it'll be a 3/5. So that's kind of neat. It all depends if that's how it actually works. I think it is. And it's not dependent on the like after you're triggering after your draw step. I don't think it is, because it activates as soon as this comes into play. So this could be very, very important card in this set. We'll have to see how it plays out. The Restoration of Yiganjo. 3 mana. So you search your library for a basic Plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand. Okay, so it doesn't put it into play, but that doesn't mean it's bad. You may discard a card. When you do, return target permanent card with the mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So it's a permanent, so it could be anything. Could be a vehicle, could be a creature, could be Luminarch Aspirant, which likely it will be. Then when you reach the final chapter, it flips and becomes a 3/4 vigilance that whenever it attacks or blocks, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. I think this is a good card. Again, whether it's these play or not, it's totally up to how the format actually shakes out. So then we have Norika Yamazaki the Poet. So 3 mana, 3/2 vigilance. Samurai. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may cast target enchantment card from your graveyard this turn. This is a pretty good card too. Next up we have Reality Heist. So cost 1 less for each artifact you control. So look at the top 7 cards of your library, reveal 2 artifacts, and put them in your hand, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Cards like this typically see play. Maybe in older formats, likely, where you're playing a bunch of stuff, a bunch of cheap creatures, maybe in Affinity. I don't know if that's still played anymore or not. But it is a good card just because anything that allows you to dig for cheap, for potentially cheap anyway, I should say. This could be like 4 mana, even 5 mana, 5 mana digging for 7 cards and getting 2 artifact cards. You have to be a little bit heavy-handed with the artifacts, but it could see play in standard, but I don't think so. I think older formats is where this is going to go. Next up, we have Brilliant Restoration. Now, this is a good payoff card, I think, for the Hallowed Haunting deck. Well, it's just a good payoff for enchantment decks in general. I think it's a good payoff for the green-white enchantment deck that I had mentioned in a previous video that I didn't think had enough stuff in it to actually be able to play. Like green didn't really have a lot of enchantments. I think there's some good ones now. But now you're almost able to play like a reanimator strategy with enchantments, which I'm kind of happy about. Minus the fact that mono white also got Lion's Sash yesterday or the day before, which interacts unfavorably with this strategy as well. But you can use like stuff like Mulch now in that deck to basically get all your land drops. Then you can get the Brilliant Restoration, and then pop all your enchantment cards back into play. Very powerful card. Will likely see play. I mean, Elrond's Epiphany was 7 mana and it saw play. So whatever strategy wants to employ this, will likely be able to reach the 7 mana, I think. So a very good card. Very excited about this. A little on the expensive side, but I think it's a good card. And not to discount the artifact side of it either, but mostly the enchantments, just because there's so many good enchantments in this set. So next up we have Hidetsugu Consumes All, 3 mana Saga. Interesting. Destroy each non-land permanent with a mana value 1 or less. I mean, that's good, and I don't. It's not good in standard necessarily. It's okay in standard. Like Path of Peril and stuff like that. That's much better at 3 mana for dealing with creatures. But then you also get the exile all graveyards. Again, another hose to Brilliant Restoration. And or reanimator strategy in general. I mean, again, it's fine. They have to have the answers in the format. But I'm fine with it being in a different color. If this was like mono white, I would probably lose it. But I'm glad that it's in a different color, because it sort of seems like this set is really gearing mono white up to be a powerhouse. But I mean, I could be wrong. There could be other things that come along in the set still. Still a lot to be revealed. So, and then when it reaches chapter 3, it flips and it becomes a 3/3 trample. And whenever it deals damage, that's interesting. It doesn't say combat damage. Okay. So whenever it deals damage, so if it blocks or becomes blocked, it can get a +1/+1 counter, as long as it doesn't die. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, if it has dealt 10 or more damage to that player this turn, they lose the game. So eventually, if they keep jump blocking it, eventually if they hit the player and their power is 10 or more, they'll kill the player. Although if you imagine this going unchecked for a few turns, it'll just kill the opponent anyway. It doesn't need the second clause. But I still think it's a good card overall. But I like it. I think it's a good card. We'll go over to the next card. Tribute to Hirobi. So 2 mana Saga. That's pretty good. Each opponent creates a 1/1 black rat rogue creature token. So you're giving your opponent 2 1/1 rats. Okay. And then it flips and becomes a 3/3 flying haste. When Echo of Death's Wails enters the battlefield, gain control of all rat tokens. So you get to swipe them back when this flips over. And then whenever it attacks, you can sacrifice a creature, and if you do, draw a card. So, this is pretty good. I mean, there's also the possibility that you can also kill the rat tokens. I don't like the fact that it gives the opponent rat rogue tokens, because the rogue / samurai or / ninja deck, can make good use of those. So we'll see how this plays out. It's very cheap. I think it's good. It also doesn't say sacrifice a rat, so any other creature. So as long as this flips and it attacks, you get to draw a card. Sacrifice creature and draw a card. So this is a good card. I think the downfall of this might be the first 2 abilities, but we'll see. Next up, we have Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So 3 mana Saga. Create a 2/2 Goblin Shaman creature token with, whenever this attacks, create a treasure token. Okay, that's pretty good. Doesn't have haste. Then the second ability, you may discard up to 2 cards. And if you do, draw that many cards. That's a good ability. I like that. And then you can exile it and return it to the battlefield transformed. So Reflection of Kiki Jiki. That's a really sweet artwork. Actually, the artwork's actually it's the original artwork is right there. Create a token that's a copy of another target non-legendary creature you control, except it has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next sense. So basically, you get Kiki Jiki. Yeah, that's pretty good. This is a pretty sweet card. It'll have to have a deck built around it, I think. But it even gives, mono red even another tool. Being able to like copy a Goblin Lord or something like that is pretty good. In the fact that it's a goblin itself. Yeah, this will see play for sure, and likely in the mono red Goblin deck. So next up we have Invoke Justice. 5 mana, so there's another part of that cycle. 4 white. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then distribute 4+1/+1 counters among. This is a bonkers card. Wow, they're just giving mono white like everything. I mean, if you just had the first ability, it would probably be 5 mana. I mean, that's what typical, return target creatures from the graveyard to play. But this is permanent, so it's a planeswalker or anything. And then you get to put 4+1/+1 counters among any number of creatures and or vehicles. That's nuts. It is what it is. Not too. This, I mean, it's a good card. It'll see play, I think, for sure. I think it's bonkers. The fact that it basically, it's 5 mana. I mean, both of these abilities on this card would be probably 5 mana in and of themselves. So basically, you have both of those abilities tacked onto one 5 mana card. It is a sorcery, thankfully. But it is a powerful card. It will see play, I think, for sure. Mono White's just getting like all the goods in this set, just all the goods. And Mono White was already strong. I think Green actually needed more help in this set than anything else. But we'll see how it shakes out anyway. 3 mana. We have an aura, enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent creature gets +1/+1 for each creature or vehicle you control. That's pretty good actually. So then you can channel, discard it. Create 2/1/1 pilot creature tokens. Oh my jeez. That's really good. They're really pushing them on. Oh boy. Yeah, just the first ability is really good. And then you actually add to it the second ability, the channel, to discard and create 2 tokens that are basically 3/1s to crew vehicles. That's nuts to me. I mean, it's not nuts. I mean, it seems really good. But then when you take it in the context of the rest of the set, to me, it seems like Mono White just got everything in this set. But, sometimes when it seems more obvious that a certain deck will see play, sometimes it tends not to be the case. Sometimes something else will come up that'll be like, oh, this is way better. And the initial impression that you might have about the set is likely totally wrong. I hope I am. But with cards like this, these are kind of nuts, I think. So then we have mech. These 2 cards here were the ones spoiled yesterday. I had these 2 already. But these were spoiled right after I posted my video. So we have Mech Titan Core, 2 mana, 2/4 vehicle with a crew of 2. You can exile it and 4 other artifact creatures. Okay, that's good. Artifact creatures and or vehicles you control. Create a Mech Titan. We saw the token up here. Mech Titan. Mech Titan is all colors: flying, vigilance, trample, lifelink, and haste. So all the things. So you have to exile them so they can't go to your graveyard. Okay, that's good then. When that token leaves the battlefield, return all cards exiled with Mech Titan Core, except Mech Titan Core, to the battlefield tapped into the. Oh my goodness. If you're able to exile them, and then they're able to kill the 10/10 creatures, they get all their stuff back again. Okay, well, I mean, it is what it is. It's a cheap crew. Thankfully, there's no other ability on this. It's just the 2 mana 2/4. That's fine. You're obviously going to be playing it for this, and the fact that it's a vehicle is important. Don't get me wrong. But at least it's not, in and of itself, it's not a powerful vehicle, which would have made it bonkers. And then we have Inkrise Infiltrator, 2 mana, flying, 1/2, and it gets +2. It's a draft card. So like I said, so far, I mean, we still got like 110 or so cards. I think there's like 30 commander cards or something like that are going to be spoiled as well. But yeah, I think so far, again, like I said, Mono White's getting the goods in this set. We still got a bit of cards left to go, so hopefully that changes. I already think Mono White's the #1 aggro deck in the format. I think obviously an argument can be made for Mono Green. I think Mono Green's also good. I mean, Mono Green, when it gets to nuts draw, it just wipes the floor with you anyway. But I think Mono White's draws are more consistent than the green deck, even though I think the green deck has a slightly higher power level. The amount of times that I played against Mono White where I'm dealing with 6/6 creatures by like turn 4, or even the green-white deck where I'm dealing with the same problem, it's more synergy-based power level than the mono green where it's just individual card power level. But anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. This one went a little bit longer. There was a few more cards spoiled today. Anyways, see you later.